journey back to she who carved this board, who spilled blood to stir its dark magic.
This is Brian, ScreenFiles.com in review, and what I'm looking at today is 2024's Witchboard, which was released in 2025, directed by Chuck Russell. When I heard that Chuck Russell, the director of, I believe, Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Warriors, as well as The Blob, among others, though The Blob is worth mentioning because it is probably one of the best remakes you'll ever see. And I don't care about genre. In terms of being a reboot, it is virtually perfect. It is a great movie, and it needs to be spoken of in that light. It's more than a horror film, it's just great cinema. But in any case, with Chuck Russell directing, there was a chance this movie was going to be really good. And having seen Chuck Russell's reboot, it's better than Kevin Tenney's 1986 movie. Though to be fair, that's a pretty low bar to clear. Once again, watch it for yourself. I believe it's currently on Tubi, but you can find Witchboard. Give it a watch, it's worth seeing. In any case, the movie is very similar plot-wise to Kevin Tenney's original, but changes enough things that make it really interesting and engaging. It's very well acted, and it's very well shot, though you've probably heard stories about the dodgy FX. Most of the effects, I would argue, are actually practical, though there is definitely CGI in this movie. And the CGI in this movie can run the gamut to very good to very bad, very quickly. But that being said, Chuck Russell handles it in such a way which speaks to him being such a good director. Namely, he doesn't spend a lot of time with it. Which is to say, if you got dodgy FX, you don't linger on it. And Chuck Russell doesn't in this movie. For instance, I guess the worst example would probably be the cat scene. It is clearly, at a point, a CGI cat. Ridiculously so, in fact, and it almost looks like a cartoon. I'm exaggerating, but not by a lot. The point being, Chuck Russell didn't linger on it. The particular scene in question, if I recall, lasted maybe 3 seconds. It was fairly quick. And while it was long enough for you to see how cheesy the FX work was, it was quick enough that the action where the scene took place kind of grabs you. So you're able to just see beyond it, or at least I could. And in fact, I would say that Witchboard's greatest problem is in the writing more than anything else. Because the main character, who was drug addicted at one point, though the thing of it is, her story is only mentioned when it's used to compel a plot point. If it weren't for that, you wouldn't even know she was a former addict. And so, I like the idea that the story uses that type of character, but it doesn't do anything with it. They could have very easily compared her experience as an addict to some of the magical stuff that's happening. And in fact, one character does mention it, but it's something that the story never really gets into, and that's a pity, because it would be a much smarter movie. That's not to say it's stupid. It's not exactly summa cum laude in terms of the ideas and concepts it's trying to get across. And that kind of bummed me out a little bit. It could be a lot better than it is. Never mind the FX. I get it. They only have so much money, and the FX isn't great. In some instances, I should say. But a few more rewrites tighten up her boyfriend, who happens to be a chef at this restaurant a bunch of friends are opening up, exists only to compel the plot forward. He's not really a character for the most part. He's handsome, it's well acted, but he is not really a character like his girlfriend. They're just there to speed the plot along. And once again, another wasted opportunity. If the writing could have invested more in these two characters, just fleshed them out a little bit more. I mean, I'm not talking about Kramer versus Kramer here, but I'm talking about giving us a reason to relate to these people. Deals with surfaces a lot, in terms of its actors in particular. You get very shallow portrayals, not bad ones, it's well acted, but they're very shallow and no one seems to be investing in anything, not really. And I understand that the story didn't demand them to, though maybe it should have. As it stands, Chuck Russell's Witchboard is pretty good. It's not the best Chuck Russell movie you'll see though. Gotta check out the blog for that. Really, really good. So what do you think? This is Brian with ScreenFiles.com and review. Do you agree, disagree? Let me know down below. And as usual, consider a like, follow, or buy me a coffee.